Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world. And welcome to this Techstrong learning experience brought to you by Precisely. My name is Cody, and I'd love to welcome you back. Before we get this thing kicked off, we do have just a couple of housekeeping notes I'd like to review. First, today's session is being recorded. So if you missed any of our discussion, perhaps you'd like to rewatch or maybe share with a friend. The on-demand recording will be made available shortly after we conclude this live session today. If you'd like to engage with us, there are a couple of options for you to do so. The first of which is the chat tab. So I'd like you to go ahead and start testing out that chat function for us on the right side of the screen. Let us know from where you are joining. I know we have a global audience and we'd love to see where everyone is from. If you have any specific questions, I will direct you to the Q&A tab directly to the right of where it says chat. Sending those questions to the Q&A just helps us keep track of these, and if we aren't able to get to all of our questions today, we will be able to track them and send them over to our speakers to follow up with you after the fact. Of course, before we close things out today, we will be giving away 4 $25 Amazon gift cards. So of course, be sure to stick around for the duration of our program to find out if you're one of our lucky winners. So our topic today is Maximize IT Operations Observability with IBM I within Splunk. And I'm joined today by Ian Hartley, Senior Director of Product Management at Precisely, and Andrew Farley, Sales Engineer at Precisely. Andrew will be here in just a moment to lead us through a little bit of a demo, so we've got a good program coming up. So with that being said, Ian, would you like to go ahead and take it away from here?
So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and hello. Welcome and thank you for joining us today. As Jessica said, I'm Ian Hartley, Senior Director of Product Management for our Ironstream family of products here at Precisely, and I'm joined by Andrew Farley from our Sales Engineering team. And together, we're going to take you through a look at how you can maximize and extend observability of your IBM I environment into tools such as Splunk, and why you should be doing this. Now, I certainly know your time is precious. Everybody is maxed out with many meetings these days, so we'll keep this session relatively short, sharp, and hopefully very relevant, and give you some of your time back, potentially, closing out before the end of the hour. So let's walk through what we're going to be looking at today. I'll start by giving you some grounding in observability, because it's a relatively new term. Not everybody's 100% certain what it means, certainly from people I've been speaking to. And we'll be answering questions like, what is it? Why does it matter? And what does it give me? We'll look at how observability relates to Splunk. And it clearly can relate to many other things as well. But we'll also be putting this into the context of the IBM I with some examples. And next, Andrew will run through a demo, giving you a show and tell, quick run through of what we've got within Splunk dashboards populated with IBM I information. And finally, assuming we have some time, we'll answer any questions that you may have. So with that, let's plow on and get started. So what is observability? Well, it's actually a new name for something that we have all been doing for many, many years. I see it as a concentration of monitoring, something, as I said, we've all been doing for many, many years. It's a way of leveraging information, bringing together data points that you should be looking at and getting them into the right context to help deliver an optimal IT service for your customers, whether they are internal or external. And you should care about observability because of all the pressures IT teams live with on a daily basis. Teams are having to keep business-critical systems and services up and running. They often struggle to quickly determine the root cause of an issue and have to lean on subject matter experts to understand and answer situation questions that burn through precious time. We're all having to handle more and more, often with less and less resource. So when something does occur, can you confidently know that this is good? Or can you also spot that something you see is normal often it's challenging to actually get that answered. You may not have the knowledge yourself, you know about the situation, but you need to find that answer quickly. So first you need the visibility of these key performance indicators, and you also need to know what is normal, acceptable, or even out of step. And this is just one way of understanding observability. But don't just take my word for it. Let's look at what research company Gartner says about observability. Their definition is, observability is the evolution of monitoring into a process that offers insight into digital business applications, speeds innovation, and enhances customer experience. I&O leaders should use observability to extend current monitoring capabilities, processes, and culture to deliver these benefits. Now, there's a lot in that statement, so let's unpack it a little by digging into the actual text there. And by the way, I&O, I had to Google it myself to find out what that was, refers to infrastructure and operations. Observability is an evolution of monitoring. As I said, it's a new way of using and looking at things that we've been doing for many, many years. But it's putting it into today's context in many ways, and how we're all having to work, be that remotely, under more pressure, and even with less system knowledge actually around potentially within the team. A process that offers insight into digital business applications. This is getting the visibility you need of the systems and services you actually care about. Today, we all have digital business applications, and these often run our organization. We rely on them to keep, money coming in the door. So we need to know what is or is not actually happening to ensure everything is running well in these complex multi-platform systems. Speeds innovation. This speaks to giving you insight into ways you can improve on what is already in place. We see this over and over again. Once you have the wide visibility of a system or service, you have the complete context, or at least hopefully you have the context there. This gives you the intelligence you need to react to identified peaks, troughs, trends, anomalies, and many, many other kind of use cases that can hit you. Enhances customer experience. This is crucial. We all need happy customers. They expect available performance systems and services. Today, we live in this always-on environment and must ensure customer experience is, at minimum, is still good, even better, hopefully, than our competition. Observability ensures that you are on top of the situation and delivering excellent customer service. Use observability to extend current monitoring capabilities, processes, and culture. This, as I mentioned earlier, is the concentration of monitoring into a point of focus, drawing elements from across your IT, the whole infrastructure, supplementing what is already in place, but gathering this into a holistic view where you can leverage improved processes, better synergies, and drive a change in mindset away from being reliant on siloed, separate monitoring tools. And benefits. Everything we do must deliver benefits, either to an individual, a team, a service, or an organization. Observability can help with all of these. Think about it. Getting a handle on a situation quicker benefits everyone. You, your team, your systems, your organization, and also your customers. Fundamentally, observability distills down to what I see as three things. Number one, visibility. You need to be able to see the wider picture and just enough to know what is or is not happening. What trouble is heading your way and where does it exist? And ideally, with as much notice as possible. Second, you need agility. When you do see something, you need to be able to act and respond quickly. Observability should give you a proactive approach, and also it builds a time buffer to allow you to take any action that is necessary. You should absolutely not be constantly in a reactive state trying to fix something you did not know about until it was too late. And thirdly, IT resilience, also another common term we're seeing alongside observability oftentimes. Together, better visibility and improved agility will deliver more robust systems, services, and applications. And this will lead to better customer experience, happy management, which is of course what we all want, but also team satisfaction. And all of this is underpinned by what is known as the 3 pillars of observability. That is, the information sources that you need to give you the visibility, agility, and IT resilience that I've just spoken about. These are logs, metrics, and traces. These are elements such as CPU percentage, response times, detailed error messages. I mean, the list can go on, but there's definitely some key elements within that that you should be focused on. Elements that are key performance indicators that, when brought together, give you that observability. Okay, this is all well and good, but how does this relate to Splunk? Well, let's look at how Splunk refer to observability. They say it is using telemetry data. These are those metrics, traces, and logs that I've mentioned to determine the status of your systems and services. That is, getting information from these data sources to understand what is, again, what is not happening with the systems you actually care about. Splunk also put this into the context of the full stack, where this can include many IT components, things like web servers, load balancers, hardware and software components, network devices, and even IBM I systems, of course. And they say it's about gaining visibility, better intelligence, and even automating remediation for faster response and much less downtime, because problems do happen. And all of this starts with getting access to the appropriate data. And this means, you guessed it, getting into those logs, traces, and metrics that contain the golden nuggets that you need to obtain to get the results that you need within the context of observability. Because observability can deliver answers very quickly. Once you are collecting the relevant key performance indicators, you are in the fast lane to better insights and that key agility that you need. Seeing KPIs from many sources side by side in something like Splunk allows many correlations and a better understanding to actually take place. So now you can see that that large slice on the pie chart is actually good. And you can also see that that bump in the line chart is actually normal for this time of day. And the ability to look at this in a much wider context is also so much more powerful in itself. Splunk also say that observability is critical to your culture and business strategy. And by this they mean that fundamentally the world has changed. Today you must be hyper-reactive. A security scenario or even a minor slowdown in response times can have major impacts. But your IT teams are also changing. Some knowledge is being lost. People are retiring and they're taking knowledge away from the team. There's also new expectations and ways of working that are coming into what we're doing. And IT people are having to react to this. But they also need to have the information they need to do their job at their fingertips. And your business has to be running at an optimal level constantly. Business speeds up. It generally does not slow down. And business strategy can drive more demands over time on IT. And today, IT is all about these core values. Things like, I'm not saying this is a definitive list, but it comes down to really these four things: performance, insights, availability, and costs. Each is important in its own right, but we need to deliver on all of them. And probably the one with the most focus is cost. Everything influences cost, and everyone needs to be focused on cost, especially when even a short period of downtime can roll up to be a very large number. No organization wants that. And remember, this is not just me saying this. This is coming from Splunk and their position around observability. Go and look at splunk.com and you'll see the references around this up on their site. And of course, naturally, this can apply to IBM I. If you just think about it, it's a computer, it does processing, it has elements in there, just like any other machine, give or take, and everything we've spoken about can equally apply to IBM I. So I'm assuming that most of you here today know that IBM I remains an important IT platform in its own right. Absolutely true. IBM I plays a role in many larger complex systems. Sure, it can do things by itself, but also today it's part of that kind of onion of different layers of systems that are put together. There's a multi-layered system going on here. So it should be part of your holistic single pane of glass view because of all the observability benefits I have already mentioned. It does not make sense to leave this platform off to one side in a world of its own. You need to bring it into the observability context. Up-level key metrics, logs and traces, those elements that we've been looking for better situational identification and speedier resolution. So IBM I must be part of your observability strategy. And observability in Splunk, with these data points delivered by our Ironstream product, will allow you to capture many different use cases. As an example, the ability to spot trends, perform comparisons and correlations, leverage machine learning for future projections. Anything you can do with Splunk can equally apply to IBM I. Derive better operational benefits and business impacts. Spot those outliers that you need to kind of pay attention to, and identify situations just so much faster. Plus, you can also bolster your current security and compliance posture by leveraging these kinds of technologies. The list just goes on. In fact, a recent customer of ours who recently signed up for Ironstream is already seeing those benefits from just some of their implementations they've done so far. They are actually hyper-focused on literally micro movements in response times. The reason being is because they run online stock trading actually on the IBM I. Sure, there's other peripheral infrastructure as well. And they were feeding everything into Splunk, but not elements from IBM I, even though it's their main platform. Using Ironstream, they are now seeing the full picture in Splunk. They have a better grip on what is affecting response times, whether that is actually on or off the IBM I, but they're also seeing these values and many other operational indicators to get so much faster insight and be responsive to any situation that does come their way. But they know they can expand way beyond just response times. They're already looking at many other use cases. They now have the ability to bring many aspects, under their own control from the IBM I environment into Splunk for many more use cases across a broad spectrum of different disciplines. It's only when you get these elements together into a tool like Splunk that the world of observability really opens up. And you see more things really faster than ever before. As Splunk say, you're actually turning data into doing. So enough from me. I'd like to turn over now to Andrew, who's going to give us a quick show and tell session to go through some of the dashboards that we have. Andrew?
Thank you, Ian. So Ian's been speaking today about observability. So now I'm going to share with you what it is we're able to observe when this data is put into a platform like Splunk. So I'm going to go ahead and log in. To Splunk here, and now that I've logged in, I've come to our landing page. We've created various dashboards while working with customers to show the power of Ironstream and what you can do with that data when it's in Splunk. And you see here, the landing page is for mainframe, operations, analytics. We also have we're also able to get security information in here. And then I'm going to go ahead and go over to our IBM I landing page and into our starter pack. So this is a starter pack, comes with Ironstream, and it is just that. It's a starter pack. We have some basic information here just to show you what you're able to see. And it does look a little bit bland, but in your system or with more information, you'll be able to see more. So we have just our development system. So we have one column here. But if you have multiple LPARs, you'd see them listed vertically all the way across this page. And this overall health dashboard is to give you a good idea of what's currently happening on your system. We have this updating every 5 minutes, and it shows our resource utilization, our pool faults, disk information, and TCP transmissions as well. You know, how many retransmits we have per second, and new connections that we have. And you'll see that all of these are green. This dashboard does a great job of illustrating that once the data is into Splunk, you can use any of the capabilities of Splunk to enhance that data. So we can set thresholds. So right now everything's performing within a threshold, but say our disk busy percentage gets up near 20%, well, we're going to want to know about it. We're going to want to see that. So it's going to turn yellow and say, hey, you may want to take a look here. But if it gets up towards 30%, we could have a critical issue, and we're going to want to be alerted to that. And so Splunk has alerting capabilities that can go off of these metrics and send an email or a text message to the relevant people so that situations can be addressed quickly, and you can stay agile. So to go further into it, we have our LPAR health dashboard. This contains very similar information to what you saw on the previous slide, or resource utilization, faults, but this gives a historical perspective. So I'm going to go back over 24 hours, but you see here, you can go over days, weeks, months, if you want to dig into an entire date, a set date range that you want. And then I'm going to change the granularity, smooth these out a little bit. And so you're able to easily look at this and see spikes or trends as you look across the data. So again, top we have the CPU utilization. We're seeing our pool sizes broken down by each pool. So you can hover over and see just the one that you want to monitor. Seeing disk activity and response times. Again, that disk busy percentage graphed, so it's easily visible. And the point of this is that once you have the data in Splunk, the people who monitor the rest of your IT infrastructure through Splunk can monitor your iSeries as well. They don't need a decade or more of AS400 experience to look at this information and gain insight into the system. And then from here, we have each of our dashboards drill down a little further. So we have a spike here in CPU utilization. When I click that, I'm able to go into, so you jumped right over to the CPU dashboard, and I'm able to get deeper information into that resource. And you see here, I'm able to see a graph that's showing a correlation between CPU utilization and wait times. So if I have CPU utilization and low wait times, that may be normal or acceptable. But if high utilization is translating to long wait times, I want to be aware of that. And I want to see that and be able to figure out why it's occurring. And of course, you can break the data down further. We can see CPU utilization by job type, by user, or even by subsystem. And as we click here, we're able to then affect the chart down at the bottom to see even more granular information by the time frames that we've set up, by subsystem, by user, etc. So as we go down this dashboard, we get deeper and deeper into the data because it's there and it's available. I've already opened up some of the other dashboards just so that we already have these things at the top set up. But here you can see information into memory. You're seeing your totals by pool. You're seeing your faults by pool. And here you're able to see availability and used gigabytes broken down by each of the memory pools. Again, always getting deeper and deeper into the data. Up here, easily monitored by the graphs and able to be translated by someone who doesn't have a lot of iSeries experience, but then that more granular data is available down here if it's needed in an easy to view manner. To jump forward, we also are able to see a breakdown of jobs and how they relate to what's going on in the rest of our system. So we're able to see by total job count how that's translating to page faults and how that relates to database and non-database reads and writes. We're also able to see our SQL activity. Are we having a lot of rollbacks, and our TCP activity with our socket sends and receives. Just another way, if it's information that's being journaled, we're able to get it here and be able to see it in a way that, again, that goes to the visibility Ian talked about, and also the agility. It allows us to view things, dig deeper, and react and be agile when we need to be. The other thing it relates to is, as Ian mentioned, the IT resilience and being able to build a business strategy. When you're able to see these historic views of what's happening over time and see trends, you can adapt and make your system work in a more efficient manner because you can plan for what's coming. On this network dashboard here, you're able to see the different key indicators that you want to know about your network. Are we having a lot of segments retransmitted? Are there errors? Do we have a lot of new connections all at once? So this is something that relates back to what we saw on the overall health dashboard. At the very bottom, there was an indicator there for new connections. If we have 40 new connections all at once, you may want to be aware of that. And as I mentioned, this is all coming for journals, accounting journals, collection services, and message queues. So if I click into a metric, I'm going to go to the individual events, these journal entries, and this data is getting here and is JSON tagged data. So we're breaking down those entries into individual fields, and we have a performance journal that we've created, and you can see all the data from the journal entry is here, and then we're able to use that in searches within Splunk or in dashboards to clearly display the data that we want to see. And these dashboards that we have, these are starter packs. We've worked with customers, we listen to customers, we build these to really display the capabilities of Ironstream when the data's in Splunk. And some of our customers use these. They're available with Ironstream, and some of our customers use the entire pack. Some want to pick certain pieces off, and that's available to you. And we're able to help configure those, or some customers don't use them at all because the data, once available, you're able to put in dashboards you already have or enhance features from Splunk. That data is able to integrate into those. So lastly, we're also able to get in data from message queues. So this dashboard shows critical messages that you can view if you only want to know the severe messages, or if you want to see everything here, we're able to see jobs starting and stopping in a very clear way. So as I said, these are all available as part of the starter pack. We have other dashboards, including we have some in Splunk base already that are available to you. So that ends what I was going to demo, unless Ian has anything to add. And if not, that brings up our Q&A portion.
Great. Thank you, Andrew. As a reminder, please add any questions you may have in our Q&A dashboard. Ian, before I jump in, was there anything you wanted to add as well?
No, I think that's good. And there's a good roundup of dashboards there, Andrew. And believe me, Andrew just kind of scratched the surface there. We have, as Andrew said, dashboards that are available on Splunk base, which is the Splunk App Store. That's not truly representative of what we have. We have a lot more behind the scenes, but we do give them away to customers as we develop them. And the starter packs really come from customer experience, what customers are asking for. So there are useful things in there that you can literally get running within minutes by design. They're standard Splunk apps, so they install within your Splunk environment, whether that's in the cloud or on-premise. And you can just take them apart, put them back together in whichever way. And we have, as Andrew said, customers that use them out of the box as they are. And we have ones that take them apart and use different charts for their own purposes. That's the beauty and power of Splunk. And we don't kind of make it any less rigorous or anything else around that. It's entirely up to you. What we deliver into Splunk allows you to work in Splunk. So, yeah. Any questions, Jessica? Let's have a look.
Great, thank you. Yes, we do have a few questions that have come in. I'll start with, I work with Splunk today and would like IBMI to be included in our dashboards, but the IBMI team is reluctant to share information. Do you see this with other organizations?
Yes, we do. And there's nothing wrong with IBMI teams. I'll get that out there straight away. They're good people. You work on a very valuable platform. But what we do see is this kind of Team A, Team B association, where Team A is the Splunk team, Team B is the IBMI team, or vice versa. And oftentimes one does not know anything about the other. We talk to customers where they say, we have everything in Splunk. But we say, what about your IBMI platform? Didn't know we had that. Or, no, that's a separate team. IBMI has been around for a long time. It's grown up. It has a lot of things like monitoring and everything else within that. Fine. But it's not necessary best practice to keep that totally isolated in its own little bubble by itself, even though it lives very well by itself. It just makes sense, as we've already said, to get that into today's observability holistic context. Bring just elements in there. We're not going in to raid the larder and take everything away. Absolutely not. We're not taking away monitoring tools. Absolutely not. What we're doing is just getting key elements into the right context to allow you to run a better business. Simple as that.
Great. Thank you, Ian. We have a question that came in. What is the data store, and can I configure my dashboards as per my requirements? Absolutely.
And Andrew, feel free to chime in here as well. But, we just deliver the data into Splunk just because it's come from IBMI, as Andrew demonstrated. Natively today, it comes out as JSON. That may change in the future. I can't say too much, but we are looking at many different options. Ironstream is a very active product for Precisely. So there's a lot of projects happening behind the scenes. But it comes in a structured JSON, which was actually recommended to us by Splunk. Remember, we were the first organization when we were known as SyncSort to actually couple up with Splunk for this kind of thing. And yes, you can absolutely just exploit Splunk in any which way you can with any, like you can with any other data. You can build dashboards if you want to do that using standard tooling, whether that's XML based or the new React based dashboards. If you want to do that, there's no limits. There's nothing to say you can't do anything with this with IBM I flavored information. So yeah, I mean, you can take ours or you can build your own. Simple as that.
Absolutely. I agree with what Ian said. Is that once that data's there, you're able to do with it what you want. And it, as I showed a journal entry, you're able to use those fields in searches that you create, in dashboards, in reporting, a lot of security use cases. To be able to meet audit requirements, companies want to be able to get reports on the data that's coming into Splunk. And that's easily done because you're able to customize and view what you want to view because all the data is there with tagged field names.
Thank you. We don't have Splunk. Can you send to another destination?
Yes, Ironstream can. I mean, clearly this session is focused on Splunk, but we can send to Elastic and Kafka and other destinations. If anybody's interested in getting to another destination, please reach out to me, ian.hartley@precisely.com. As I said, I'm the product manager, so I'm always interested in how we can help customers get to better product. We are looking at many other different destinations, so if anybody wants to have a vote on one of those destinations, have a conversation with me. We're always open to kind of opportunity here.
Thank you. We have a question. Are the dashboards you demoed free?
I think we kind of covered that, but absolutely yes, they are. We give them away as part of our onboarding process. If customers want to take them, of course, they don't have to. And what we do see, just as a side note, in the customer community, clearly some teams are more experienced than others than using things like Splunk. Some are actually fine, we're good, we can understand this, and we're off to the races and off we go. Others say, can you help us? We're there if you need us. We have professional services if you want to leverage that as well. So, the scope's wide open there.
Great. And we may have covered this, but it did come in. What is the format of data for the Splunk dashboard?
So that is, as I said, structured JSON data. And also, as I said, that came as a recommendation to us from Splunk originally. But we are looking at other formats because we know it's not necessarily 100% suitable in certain circumstances, but it does work. We have very many successful customers actually running with it. There's no problem with JSON itself. It's just as we move forward through time, of course, things change. So we're looking at many different things. As I said, there's a lot of activity behind the curtain for Ironstream, so there is more to come, alluding to more destinations, different structures and processing of data and things like that. So there's lots more integrations coming.
Awesome. Well, Ian and Andrew, I'd like to thank you both for joining us today. I really appreciate the time you take out of your busy schedules to come join us on Techstrong Learning. I know that we only had time for about a 40-minute presentation today, so the rest of our questions today will be sent over to our speakers, and they will be able to respond to those directly after the fact. So Ian and Andrew, thank you both. I'd also like to thank Jessica for helping us through our Q&A portion there at the end. I'd also like to remind our audience today that the session was recorded. Should you want to rewatch this, you will be receiving an email with a link to access the on-demand version. Or, of course, you can find it living on the DevOps website at devops.com/webinars, and be sure to look in the on-demand section. The 4 winners of our $25 Amazon gift card drawing, they are Eden T, Jerome D, Muhammad A, and Majid S. So to our 4 winners, congratulations. Keep an eye on your inbox to claim your gift card. It should make its way to you in the next 48 hours. If you don't happen to see that email, check your spam folder just in case it happens to get filtered out. I'd like to thank Precisely for sponsoring our program today. And to everyone in attendance, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate your time, and we want to ask for just one more moment. As soon as we close out, there will be a survey that pops up, and we would love to hear your feedback, whether it be about this program we just had or recommendations for an upcoming topic. We would love to hear your thoughts. Either way, we do hope to see everyone at a future Techstrong learning experience. Have a great rest of your day, and you may now disconnect. Ian, Andrew, Jessica, thank you all once more.